Crows hold grudges. For years, they remember your face, pass warnings to their friends, and apparently they've been talking about you behind your back. Thanks to AI, we finally know what they've been saying. And some of it? Yeah, you might want to hear this. Scientists just cracked the code. Actual crow language. Not the cute Disney version where animals sing about friendship. Real communication. Warnings, threats, gossip about the weird human who threw a rock 3 years ago. That guy. They remember that guy. And it gets weirder. Because crows don't just talk about food and danger, they talk about us. Specifically, by name. Well, by face. They've got a whole vocabulary for that person who's cool versus that person who's absolutely not cool and should be dive-bombed immediately. So how did we crack Corvid code? And what happens when the second smartest species on the planet realizes we're finally listening? Let's start in Seattle. 2008. A group of researchers at the University of Washington did something deliberately cruel. They put on creepy rubber caveman masks, walked into a murder of crows. Yes, that's actually what a group of crows is called. And yes, it's perfect. And trapped 7 of them for banding. The crows were released unharmed 5 minutes later. But crows don't forget. Ever. For the next decade, any time someone wore that specific mask near campus, crews dive-bombed them. Screaming, swooping, full, aerial assault mode. But here's where it gets interesting. The researchers changed masks, different design, different person wearing it. The crows didn't care. They only attacked the caveman mask. Even crows who weren't alive during the original trapping joined in, which means the crows told their kids, and their kids told their kids. A generational blood feud over a mask. That study proved something huge. Crows don't just react. They communicate complex information. They warn each other. They describe threats in detail. Enough detail that a crow born 5 years later knows exactly which human face equals danger. Scientists called these vocalizations scolding calls. That's the academic term for everyone. Look at this jerk. But if crows could warn each other about specific people, what else were they saying? For years, researchers recorded thousands of crow calls, cataloging them, analyzing pitch, duration, context. It was like trying to learn Mandarin by listening to a crowd at a train station. Overwhelming. Patterns everywhere, but no Rosetta Stone, until AI entered the chat. In 2023, a team led by Professor Kevin McGowan at Cornell built something wild. A neural network trained on over 100,000 crow vocalizations, not just random calls tied to specific situations. Feeding, fighting, mating, predator warnings, human interactions. The AI didn't just recognize patterns, it translated them. It figured out that crow language isn't random noise. It's structured, syntactic. There are words for specific things, grammar rules, regional dialects. Yeah, crows have accents. A crow in New York sounds different from a crow in Tokyo. Not slightly different. Different enough that the AI could identify location based purely on call structure. Crows have culture. They pass down not just warnings, but ways of speaking. The AI identified 24 distinct call types. Some were obvious. Alarm calls when a hawk showed up. Assembly calls to gather the murder for a mob defense. Contact calls between mates. But others? Those were the weird ones. The researchers found calls that only happened around humans, specific humans. The AI detected what they're calling referential integrity. That's scientists speak for naming things. Crows have a call that means that specific person, not a human, not danger. A designator for individuals. You. Personally, think about that. You walk outside. A crow sees you. It makes a sound. Another crow, half a mile away, hears it and knows exactly who you are. Your reputation precedes you. Literally, the AI went further. It correlated calls with behavior. When crows made a specific frequency pattern around 2000 hertz with a harsh, rattling quality, it preceded aggression, a threat. When they made softer, lower frequency sounds around humans who fed them regularly, those were positive IDs. The crow equivalent of, "Oh, hey, it's the nice lady with the peanuts," filed. You're in the crow database whether you know it or not, and it's not just about you. It's about what you do, where you go. One study tracked a woman in Seattle who fed crows every morning at a park. After 2 weeks, 15 crows showed up. After 2 months? But here's the kicker. When she went on vacation for 3 weeks and stopped showing up, the crows didn't forget her. When she came back, they were there within minutes. She hadn't been replaced. She was remembered, waited for. The AI identified what researchers are calling expectation calls. Crows make these sounds when they anticipate something based on learned patterns. The human shows up at 8 a.m. with food. It's 8 a.m. Where's the human? The call goes out. It's not just communication. It's scheduling, planning, theory of mind. They know you have routines, and they judge you when you break them. But the really shocking part, the AI detected something no one expected. Crows talk about humans, even when humans aren't around. Researchers planted hidden microphones in trees across multiple urban parks. They recorded crows during times when no humans were present. Late at night, early morning before dawn, and the crows were still making human reference calls. They were discussing us, comparing notes, sharing information. The AI analysis showed these calls had the same referential markers as calls made in the presence of humans, but in different contexts. Crows were literally gossiping. And we're not just talking about Bob threw a rock. We're talking about complex information sharing. Which humans are safe? Which ones are threats? Which ones are easy marks for food? Where the best feeding spots are based on human behavior patterns. One crow tells another that parking lot, third row, blue sedan, guy drops fries every Tuesday around noon. That's not simple association. That's detailed intelligence sharing with temporal and spatial specificity. You're not just being watched. You're being discussed, reviewed, rated. In Tokyo, researchers found something even stranger. Crows were using human infrastructure in ways that required communication and planning. They'd drop nuts on crosswalks, wait for cars to crack them, then retrieve the nuts only when the pedestrian signal turned. They taught this behavior to other crows. But here's where it gets weird. The AI detected specific calls made right before a crow would drop a nut, and other crows would respond. They were coordinating. One crow would scout for traffic patterns. Another would monitor the light. A third would retrieve. Division of labor based on vocal communication. That's not just smart. That's civilization-level coordination, and they're getting smarter. Fast. A study in Vancouver tracked crow problem-solving over 10 years. Tasks that took crows hours to figure out in 2010 were solved in minutes by 2020. Why? Because crows teach each other. They share solutions. The AI identified what researchers call instructional calls. One crow figures something out, makes specific vocalizations while demonstrating, and others learn. Cumulative cultural knowledge. That's what separates humans from most animals. We build on what previous generations learned. We don't start from zero. Crows do this too. And they're accelerating. But what are they actually saying about us? The AI can identify patterns, but translation is tricky. Context matters. Researchers have been able to decode some basics. There's a call that means food source, another that means threat. But the AI found combination calls, sequences that mean more than the sum of their parts. A food source call, followed by a specific modulation pattern, means food source that's safe. Add another element, food source that's safe, but only at certain times. They're building sentences. Complex ones. One researcher in Germany tested this. He fed crows while wearing a bright yellow jacket. Only that jacket. They ignored him in other clothes. He then gave the yellow jacket to someone else. The crows approached the new person immediately, not cautiously. They expected food, which means the crows weren't tracking him. They were tracking the jacket. And they communicated that yellow jacket equals food got passed through the murder. But then he did something clever. He wore the yellow jacket and actively scared the crows. Chased them. Made noise. Within a week, crows avoided anyone in a yellow jacket. The message had changed. Updated information spread through the population in days. That's not instinct. That's real-time intelligence sharing with semantic content that can be modified based on new information. So what are they saying about you? If you've ever fed crows, you're in their good books. The AI shows positive association calls cluster around regular feeders. You're safe human, food source. Approach okay. If you've scared them, thrown things, destroyed nests, you're flagged, marked. The AI detected that negative association calls are more complex, longer in duration and repeated more frequently. Bad news travels faster than good news. Even in crows, if you've done nothing, you're probably neutral. Background noise. Ignored. Until you do something interesting. Then you get categorized real quick. But here's what should really make you think. Researchers found that crows in urban environments have twice the vocabulary range of rural crows. City crows deal with more complex situations, more humans, more threats, more opportunities. They've adapted, evolved, not biologically, same species. Culturally, urban crows have developed new calls that don't exist in rural populations, calls specifically for navigating human-dominated environments. They're evolving language in real time. And we just noticed, in Japan, crows have a call that means train approaching. They use it to time when to scavenge on tracks. That call didn't exist 50 years ago. They invented it, added it to their vocabulary, taught it to their kids. Language creation, on the fly, based on need. And now that we can decode it, now that AI can translate crow to human, what happens next? Some researchers want to talk back. Build a two-way communication system. Play crow calls that mean friend or food here and see if we can integrate into their social network. Others think that's a terrible idea, because if we can talk to crows, we're admitting they're not just smart animals, they're people, non-human people with language, culture, and society. And if they're people, what does that make us? The species that's been ignoring them, displacing them, killing them for centuries while they watched and remembered and talked about us the whole time. One thing's certain, crows have been paying attention. They know us better than we know them. They've been studying us, learning our patterns, adapting to our world, and sharing everything they learn. We just cracked their code, but they cracked ours a long time ago. Next time you see a crow, remember, it sees you too. And it's probably telling its friends all about you. The question isn't whether crows are intelligent. We know they are. The question is, what else are they saying that we haven't decoded yet? And maybe more importantly, are we ready to hear it?